Today we are talking about Neocaridina shrimp, specifically the orange eye or demon eye Neocaridina shrimp. And we're going to talk about what is special about them, where they came from, why we didn't see them in the past, and the genetics behind them. So if you want to breed these, you will fully understand and have transparency in how to do so, which is incredible. If you are a shrimp breeder that has been in the hobby in the last 20 or 30 years, you know what a prize, what a jewel it is to know the genetics behind these traits. Oftentimes, they are hidden for 10, 15, 20 years, and we don't even know where people were getting this trait from, or if a trait was dominant or recessive, or if it was a dual or co-recessive. We just didn't know what was going on, or if it was even a hybrid of species and just a rare mutation that was carrying on, and inbreeding was needed. Now we know, and it is not inbreeding, it is sound genetics, a healthy line of shrimp on the hardiest line of shrimp you can get in the shrimp hobby, which is the Neocaridina shrimp. Now, if you've been looking at shrimp for years, you may think to yourself, well, I've seen things like the orange or, different color eye shrimp in the hobby in the past. And you've seen things like the orange eye blue tiger shrimp, for instance. And you've seen things like Caridina shrimp, like red-eyed devils, or yellow King Kong with the red eye. There's all sorts of different shrimp out there, calcio shrimp, that have had red eyes added to them, and things like this that have been crossed in Caridina. However, one, you can't cross Caridina with Neocaridina, so we can't just cross shrimp and get the traits. And two, those are a whole different genus or genera of shrimp. So Neocaridinas are much easier to care for in a general sense. They have a wider set of parameters, and that's why they are more popular, and that's why they are so much less expensive generally as well. But when we get a rare color morph or a new color morph, it can get pretty exciting. So just as we've seen almost every color come forward in these shrimp in the last 30 years, we started with mostly natural clear colors, and then a little bit of red, and then more solid red, and then some blues, and then all of a sudden we started seeing the oranges, we started seeing the yellows, we started seeing black and the deep reds, and the actual Bloody Mary, which is a blue shrimp underneath with a opaque red over that. So they look super, super pigmented in their red coloration, like a deep red. And from there, we saw everything from black rose to the clear markings like Riley or Riley shrimp. And you can see that there are many, many different color morphs out there. And Chris Lukoff has documented a ton of these, the Shrimp King out of Germany. He has taken beautiful photography of many of these different color lines. And these are all stabilized lines for the most part that are now in the hobby. Now, the last line that we're trying to get really is the purple, or I suppose pink is another color we don't have, that we have not stabilized, or any neon colors. But for the most part, every other color has now been stabilized, with green being the most recent. And that happening at least 5-6 years ago, we had a pretty solid set of green lines, both a bluish green and a kind of clear emerald green that had some transparency to it, like a jewel tone. In the Neocaridina shrimp traits, usually we've had these colors and they get better and better over time, and you have to work towards that, right? Well, in the case of the eyes, this is one that's taking the hobby by storm because, one, it was bred into the existing lines of body colors. So any existing body color or pattern that you see in Neocaridina shrimp can have these orange eyes. And where did these orange eyes come from? Well, of course they came from nature. So originally there was some strange mutant Neocaridina shrimp. In the case of this story, we know a young man by the name of Michael Hassler in Germany in the year 2020 started keeping shrimp. And within several months of keeping shrimp, he had 5 shrimp tanks in his dorm room at university. Within a few months more, he had triple that. So he got into shrimp, and he got multi-tank syndrome very quickly. He got into the genetics of shrimp, and specifically Neocaridina shrimp, very quickly. Out of all the shrimp that are in the hobby, Obviously, there's flower shrimp or fan shrimp, and there's a mono shrimp, and there are things like Malawa shrimp, and there's these other genes and other species that are out there, but the Neocaridina are both easy to care for, and they come in a wide variety of color forms that are stable and look incredible. So, of course, they've swept the hobby in popularity. And he was keeping these shrimp, and he went back to the source and bought some lines of these shrimp that were kind of a lime green color that had a yellowish orange colored eye on them. And he thought that was a striking appearance. And it turned out to be a straightforward genetic mutation or morph that is a dominant / recessive Punnett square dream. It's if you've got a normal Punnett square with genes, it all expresses in just one gene, which makes it very, very easy once you know this information to cross it into any color of existing Neocaridina rather quickly. He just randomly tried crossing the green Neocaridina or the emerald or jade shrimp line with this wild type that had the orange eyes. Now, when you first cross, the babies aren't going to have orange eyes. It's not a dominant gene. But by that second generation, all those babies are going to have the recessive gene hiding in their genetics. So then when they are crossed with each other, 25% of the F2 or third generation will express those orange eyes with the green body. 25% won't have the gene at all, just they'll have dark eyes and no recessive gene. And 50% will have the gene hidden, but they will have dark eyes. Now, if you cross them back instead this way, you can see the Punnett square where you cross them back to the original wild orange eyes, you can actually get a much higher rate of those orange eyes right away. Because the recessive gene becomes the gene that expresses much sooner. And Michael Hostler figured this out very quickly and then was able to work on getting the body, the blues, the greens, the blacks, to get much more vivid, far faster than many other shrimp projects in the past. So after they worked out the genetics and figured this out, they had a hit on their hands. I mean, right away, Michael Hostler and the shrimp community in Germany knew this was going to be big. He won his first entry into the German shrimp competition and the international shrimp competition. Since then, he's entered a number of the different body colors, from the blue dream and the black body and the black rose, body morph into the competition, and won with those as well. And now they're in the red body, and basically they're going to be in every type of shrimp shortly. Now, if you want to get a hold of these shrimp, he's basically partnered with a U.S. retailer named rareshrimp.com. And that's who sells these wholesale or basically openly to the U.S. market. Now, after those shrimp have been sold, they're being transparent with the genetics. So there's a chance you're going to buy these cheaper someday or more expensive for a while until the amount of shrimp being bred this way goes up. But in the meantime, there are a lot of people trying to show that they have the Michael Hostler or the quote-unquote demon eye gene, which is that true fiery orange pumpkin-y kind of color. And most of them are actually using like a yellow eye, which is something that we did see in the hobby, and it wasn't always completely recessive or completely dominant. I've seen some lines where it's passed on yellow in various of the light color, like orange, yellow, and green shrimp, where you get yellow eyes pretty commonly. I've also seen white eyes. I've seen light blue eyes in some of the blue shrimp. I've seen purple eyes in some of the green shrimp and blue shrimp too. But again, none of them have seemed to have this classic dominance and classic gene expression that can be bred out in 2 or 3 generations into a stable thing. And in this case, all they had to do was get those eyes to be the dominant gene and still have the majority of the body coloration gene existing there from those years and years of 20 and 30-year-old lines that exist. And basically, you've got 30 years of making a gene of the body truer and deeper blue, and only a few generations of interruption that you might have kind of tweaked things for the eyes to get the genes in the gene pool. So these are going to be all across the hobby rather shortly, and the price will drop from the current, $30 a shrimp or more. It'll drop substantially down, I'm sure, to, maybe $10 a shrimp or something along those lines quickly. But if you're interested in it, this is definitely a project I would get involved in ASAP. And if you're interested in it, start looking at wild Neocaridina lines out there. Start crossing the shrimp with eye color that is dominant, that's different than the normal black. But in Neocaridina, we can hope that there are more colors out there just waiting to be shown and explored. So maybe there's a bright red, maybe there is a bright blue that we can then cross and put onto some of these other shrimp. So with all this in mind, if you want to get a hold of the real thing, these shrimp with the true genetics, I have a couple of tips that come straight from rareshrimp.com and from Michael Hostler, and that is, ask for unedited pictures of the original shrimp stock that you're buying as like an auction item if you're not there in person to see them. Also, don't look at these shrimp under one light, so ask to see them under two types of light. So like a cell phone flash on with a white LED, or a light in a room of one color and a light in a room of a slightly different color of warmth. So you can kind of decide, is that the true bright orange I'm looking for, or is this one of the kind of mild yellows that's going to be gone in a generation or two? Secondly, you want the gene that truly expresses every single time. Otherwise, you're buying something that isn't a polished, finished version of this line of shrimp. You're buying something, either a partially solidified or partially stabilized line of these shrimp, or you're buying a different line altogether that may never stabilize. So that's why the name of the Michael Hostler shrimp, the Demon brand name in Germany and out of rareshrimp.com, is worth its weight. You know, that's you're guaranteed something by this. And in the past, other traits were not really done this way, other than things like Monica polar shrimp, that like the dancing man. There was a shrimp that called the dancing man shrimp that would fetch $500, $600, $700 a shrimp, and you were guaranteed to get it with the genes out of another German breeder years ago. But again, that's something that doesn't occur in the United States quite as often, and really hasn't occurred at all with Neocaridina shrimp in the US, or really in most of the world, because there hasn't been a trait that's so straightforward and so predictable. And there's rather just been lines from someone that are given a name like Jade or Emerald or Blue Emerald that are the best of the lines out there. So those are my tips if you're trying to avoid getting suckered out of your money for the wrong type of shrimp. You know, if it's too good to be true, it is. If you're getting offered these shrimp for $5 or $10, it's probably not the real deal. It's too good to be true, because there is always a deeper orange versus a lighter orange, and that's really a matter of preference, but they're calling the lighter orange a mid-grade, and in theory saying that's worth a little bit less money. It's just how the hobby's kind of chosen to handle that. But it's all up to the eye of the beholder at the end of the day. I hope you guys thought this was interesting. I think it's fascinating. It's getting me reinvigorated in keeping some Neocaridina lines again. And hopefully I can get my hands on some of these and some of the new color morphs out there very soon. So let me know what you'd like to hear about next in the way of shrimp genetics. You know I cover all that here on this channel, and I've got lots of videos on the subject from the past, and I hope to have many in the future. So thank you so much for supporting what I do. Couldn't do it without you. And hitting that thumbs up, sharing this video with other shrimp nuts is very helpful, and I appreciate it so much. I'll talk to you guys later, and I'll see you on the next Fish Story. Peace.